theatre can never be restricted to a space. We cannot sit down and talk about it. It has to be experienced. So basically every experience in life does make up theatre. There is no one or two experiences that can be limited to being performative in the theatre space. So there have been many questions arise like why do we do Western plays? Why take up Western scripts for that matter? Or why not stick to Indian scripts, Indian plays or Indian material for that matter? There have been many theatre practitioners who have questioned the need for us to go or seek the West as an example to do theatre in India. For that matter, this is where theatre of the roots assumes significance as a movement. So post-independence, theatre of the roots is the most important theatrical movement that happened in India.
What can you see in the tree? Huh? The eye of the bird. If the nose played a part.
So, speaking about theatre of the roots, the most important theatrical movement that happened in India post-independence, it's very crucial for all of us to examine theatre as a space, as a performance area, or indeed as development for the actor or the actress himself. But what about the audience? Are we taking into consideration theatre lovers or for that matter any common people for that matter? So in that every minute sense, theatre of the roots is a very crucial movement for all of us to understand on how theatre is not just a limited space, but then like to transcend and to go beyond, much more beyond that we already know and that we already come to know as being as modern Indian theatre. Hello ladies and gentlemen, today we shall be talking on theatre of roots, a post-independence theatre movement in India. Now why are we talking on theatre of roots and why is so much importance being given to this particular movement? In this session, we shall be talking about the origin of the theatre of roots, the movement. We should also be talking about how this amalgamation of Western theatre and aspects of indigenous theatre came into being, and how, as a result, a hybrid theatre was formed. We shall also see how this has evolved to become Indian modern theatre as we call it today. As we progress through this session, we should always look on how these techniques were used on stage and how the stage worked as a very potential platform for the actors and the audience to relate to each other. And finally, we shall bring you clippings on different performances as well as amalgamation of different theatrical pieces to show you how these movements came to be and how it is today. So, the Theatre of Roots movement began shortly after independence in 1947. Artists, directors and scriptwriters turned back to the indigenous roots like classical theatre, Indian folk theatre by inculcating martial arts, indigenous traditional art forms like classical dance, Kudiyattam, Kuchipudi, martial arts and aesthetic theatre. I'm sure most of us are aware of the Rasa and Power theory as we have said. So now the Theatre of the Roots movement is a part of the larger process of decolonization, and it has been shaped by the larger process of nation building. Indian playwrights and directors wanted to get away from this Western or colonial style of doing theatre. For that matter, they wanted to go back to the indigenous or roots of Indian traditional art form. Popular entertainment mass media, and aesthetic theory, Indian aesthetic theory, were all part of these attempts to go back to the past. So in a way, these playwrights and directors wanted to combine aspects of the Western theatre as well as going back to the roots in Indian indigenous theatre and form a hybrid theatre. This is what the Theatre of Roots movement was all about. Just after independence, the bloodbath of the partition created doubts in a number of people across India as well as Pakistan. It was during this time that Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru brought about the Nehruvian enterprise of finding a common pan-Indian emotional commonness that could be reflected in the minds of young adults as well as cultural products. He believed in unity in diversity and that he wanted to use the artist as a medium as well as art as a medium for this cultural enterprise. So Pandit Nehru wanted to use the art or artist as a medium for this concept of nation building at that particular time. So the government set up three institutions: Sangeet Natak Academy, Sahitya Academy and the Lalit Kala Mandala. The National School of Drama was an outbranch of the Sahitya Natak Academy, or for that matter, Sangeet Natak Academy as it was called in the beginning. So with Ibrahim Akhil as its head, drama was completely transformed. Hindi was used as a stage language, Hindi was slowly started coming up, and soon Western theatrical concepts were merged with the Indian ones. The National School of Drama, with Ibrahim Al-Qazi as its head, saw that traditional theatre, though rich and vibrant, was not relevant at the present time. So they started to borrow freely from the Western traditional art forms of theatre, music, or for that matter, contemporary dance as well. Now we shall see on how few dramatical techniques can be used on stage from the Roots movement. Consider this as a stage. As we all know, this is a performance arena, which we label as 1. The entry and exit happens from the wings, so 2, and the backstage 3. So the audience was known as a 4th component. So Theatre of the Roots, with impact of the Brechtian techniques, broke the 4th wall. The actors on the one space interacted directly with the audience. The audience conception of a play being performed was broken. There was much communication between the actor and the audience. The use of Hindi or Sanskrit was prominent for the actors than the use of English as the colonial language. And also the stage used to be in such a manner that instruments used to be kept on stage. Music incorporated both Indian as well as Western, with actors doing both Indian as well as Western roles. Costumes as well at the backstage used to have a combination of both Indian as well as Western. So in a way, the set reflected a version of both Indian and Western. So does the actors on the space, and thereby with all these elements in front of the stage, behind the stage, beside the stage, broke the 4th wall. From here we see how an actor was used, amalgamation of music and a traditional indigenous Indian art form was used in the stage. So stage became a revolving cultural artifact.
साधु महाराज काय हवलदार साहब
यहाँ कोई चोर भाग गया है क्या?
अरे चोर है का धूनी के खाक में चोरी करे बड़ा है जी। माल वाले घर जाए तब माल पर है, यहाँ कोनो चोर नहीं आए। चोर ने खोजे पर है ना, जाओ है जंगल।
An artifact that not only showcased the play but also had different perspectives to show to the audience, be it from the Indian, from the Western, but more importantly, seeking to establish an Indian identity to modern Indian theatre. The influence of the movement of theatre of roots is seen in so many plays today. There are so many numerous examples to be given which will take really loads of time. But now, since that we know what theatre of roots movement is and how its elements are seen in today's plays and performances, I'm sure we can incorporate few of these dramatic techniques in our performances as well. I do hope that each one of you did gain something from our session here. I would love to continue this discussion forward. So keep in touch. Thank you.